Jen, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Christy.
So, I'm really excited for this topic where our audience is small business owners. Tuesdays Together is such a great part of the events industry here. And I'm just super thrilled to have you on the show, especially to talk about this topic of 8 CEOs and how to balance the core areas of your business, which we all need help with balance. So let's just jump right in. What would you say are the 8 core or strategic areas of your business?
Well, the 8 CEOs in your head, the reason why you're so crazy is because they're all in your head and they all have to get out. So you've got financial, you've got marketing, you've got operations, you have client experience, you have systems, you have products and offerings, you have a team, and you have to worry about yourself. You notice how yourself always comes last, but those 8 CEOs or those 8 strategic parts of your business all need some kind of love throughout a day, a week, a month. So that's why you feel so crazy with business.
Yeah, because it seems like, especially as if you're a solopreneur or someone who has just a very small team, it can be very overwhelming to realize, oh my goodness, I need to think about all of these things. And, we get into business because we love our craft or whatever it is that we do. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, I just sign up to be a CEO? Is that what just happened? Yes.
Yes, you did.
Yes. So what are some ways that we can kind of make sense of all these different areas and really give them the time that they deserve, but also without being overwhelmed all the time and feel like we're spinning our wheels?
Yeah. So it's really thinking about your business in those compartments. So you have those 8 CEOs. So what do you need to do for your financials that day or that week or that month? So, kind of think about your business as, those silos. And what are you going to do for financials? Do you check your bank, balance every day? Or do you wait and do that once a week? What's that task? What are your CEO days? And what are those things that you can do on those days that can help you with your business, with operations? Do you have a standard operating procedure? Do you need to write one? You don't need to sit down in one day and write it. But if you have a CEO day, you're like, okay, today for half an hour, I'm going to work on my workflows for this part of my business. Same with client experience. Those are all things that you work on. You just don't know. You're just doing it. So it's really taking the time to say, okay, here is my standard operating procedure, and it really goes through all of those 8 CEOs to talk to help you walk through that every day or once a week, once a month, once a quarter. I have a small business task list that I'm happy to share with you guys that will break that down and so you can go, oh, okay, it's not so crazy as I think it is.
Mm. Yeah, we definitely will share that task list with you guys and be sure to put the link for that in the description. So look out for that. So what are some ways that you would say we could prioritize and maybe think about the 8 CEOs and kind of decide, okay, do we need to be looking at this part of our business every single day, or do we need to be looking at it every single week? Is there some way that you would think about strategizing that? Or, I've seen some sometimes I'll get into systems and I'll get into planning my schedule, for example, and I'll say, okay, this is the way it's going to work. I'm going to have, marketing days on Tuesdays and financial days on Fridays, and this is how it's going to go. And then inevitably something happens and it falls off the rails. And then all of a sudden I'm back to kind of just spinning the plates, and sometimes some of them are dropping and you're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So
So
is
it's
there
really
some way we can prioritize?
Yes. So it's really thinking about what are the parts of your business that you really need to work on. Most people need to work on financials, marketing, and operations. Those are probably the top 3 in every business, unless you're hiring, and that can move up. They're always moving around. But my suggestion is to really take a day and make it a CEO day. Make it where you're not working each day on a different thing. You're taking one day and saying, okay, this week, what are the things I need to work on? With that, it helps letting you just know that, okay, I've got to work on this. You just write it down on a list. Okay, this day is my CEO day. This idea popped in my head. I better sit down and write this down because I don't want to work on it right now, but I need to work on my CEO day. And most of my clients, either it's Monday or it's Friday. And, sometimes it's an all day thing. Some days you might break it up. Like that's what I do. I do half day on Monday in the morning and a half day in the afternoon on Friday. So it's something that is just like, okay. And it's a time to reflect. It's a time to kind of pause, think about your business, let it, just be with it, but also know like, okay, maybe Friday, it's all the kind of the fun things that you want to do with your business. Maybe it's the, oh, I want to look at this, or I want to take this class. And then Mondays are the, okay, I got to get down to business and look at numbers, and I gotta write my social media. I've got to, and then there's days that you're always with social media, you're always commenting. You're always, marketing is kind of an ongoing thing, but it's more of just, okay, when am I going to have time to write my posts? Or do you have a team that does that? Do you need to, it's really based on a business, on your business. That's why design your business is so big. Every business is different. So I'm just giving you the tools to make the business yours.
Yes. And you mentioned Design Your Business, which is your Facebook group, which we're going to link as well. I just joined that. It looks amazing. So I would encourage every one of you listening to check that out. So when it comes to these days, I love the idea of having a CEO day. And I love the idea of doing it Mondays and Fridays because that gives you kind of bookends for your week where you're constantly kind of getting that big picture idea of your business and what's happening so that you know what's going on in your business instead of being like, oh, I don't know what's happening. So when it comes down to these big picture visions that you might be working on your CEO days, how can you start to kind of break down those big picture vision ideas into goals and create a plan that will actually work for you?
Well, I just did this with a girlfriend for her team. She took us on a retreat to Napa. I'm like, I'll go, I'll talk. So we were actually talking about goals. And so, you have your, you want to look at your vision. What's your 3-year vision for your business? Well, then you take that down and say, okay, what can I, out of my 3 years, what are the things in there I want to get done? And then, okay, what can I do this year? And then, or, what are the steps to take me to those goals? And what's the first step? That would be this year. Maybe you want to start a YouTube channel. Okay, well, the first thing I need to do is learn about YouTube. Okay, that's my goal. And then what's the 5 things underneath that will get you to that goal? And that's what you think about. And it's not, you want to break it down into 90-day chunks. So what can you do? So you've got a big year goal. I've got, create a YouTube channel. Okay. The first 90 days, listen to this class, do that in 90 days. Okay. Then the next 90 days, I'm going to implement that plan. The next 90 days, I'm going to, whatever that is. And underneath those quarterly goals are the 5 things that you can do to get to that goal. So you break it down, you just take it and break it down into bite-sized pieces. It's the book Eating the Frog, it's all those things that people show you, oh, you should read this, you should do that. It's really just breaking it down into minor micro goals that you want to get done.
Yeah, those micro goals are so important because it can take away some of that fear of having such a massive idea or a massive project in your head. Because if you think, oh, I want to start a YouTube channel, if you write down the first step is, oh, log on to YouTube and change my cover photo or something like that. That's something that you could actually do instead of be like, what, start a YouTube channel? What does that mean? How am I going to get subscribers?
Yes.
How am I going to continue to put content out every single day?
Yeah, you just get in your head. I mean, we just get in our head. So it's really just taking it and saying, okay, yeah, like you said, today I'm going to listen to the first section of this 4-section, class. and I'm going to do the homework.
Mm.
Okay, that's great. That's what I'm going to do this month or this week. And then yes, go on to YouTube, change my profile picture, or maybe even have my graphic designer create a YouTube pitch. Those are all things you can just mark off the list and go, yay. I mean, there's times I have a list in front of me right now of things I want to get done today. And there's some days that I write down something I've already done. So I can just cross it off
Yep.
because I'm like, okay, great. I've done that.
It,
I've done something, because sometimes it's just your brain going, oh, I've done something. Okay, now I can get on to the next thing.
yeah, easy wins are so important to kind of keep that motivation going, to keep your sanity and think, yes, I'm doing something. So let's talk a little bit about um, making these task list. You mentioned one thing you'll do is write down everything that you need to do, and then you'll kind of address that on your CEO days. What about those days when you don't get to everything on your list? Does that cause you stress and anxiety, or do you have a system for that?
So a backstory on me, and it's sad, but I'm in a good space.
Mm.
So in 2018 on Halloween, I had to let my husband go. He passed
Mm.
away.
I'm
So
so
I had a
sorry.
huge task. I had a huge task of I have to move out of this house. I have to create a new life, and I have to do all of this.
Mm.
So, and I'm very task oriented. If you haven't figured that out, um, I had a list, and there was days I couldn't. I mean, there's days I couldn't get to anything, and you have to give yourself grace. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like if you can't get to everything, that's okay. You
Mm.
have tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
and you have the next day. I've got a big landscaping job that I have to do, and I just got a bunch of quotes. I got 3 quotes from one landscaping company, and I was completely overwhelmed. And I'm like talking to my boyfriend, and he's like, we have time. It's okay. You don't have to do everything all at once, because there I'm getting into like I have to do the whole job all
Mm-hmm.
at once. He's like, no, you can break it down so it goes into your own life. It's like it's okay if you say, okay, I'm good. I'm in a good space. I've done what I can today, because there's factors that come into the day. I mean, I talk about if you join the Facebook group, you'll see a thing on boundaries and expectations. You have that, but if there's days that working from home and your kid beats on the door and bleeding from the eye sockets, your day's now completely
Mm-hmm.
ruined, and not ruined, but it's completely off the tracks.
Different than what you had planned.
It's different, and so then you're like, okay, I didn't get to everything on my list. It's okay. It's
Mm.
okay. You have to, you have time. You have the next day to do it.
Yeah, and I think that is part of what is so freeing about entrepreneurship is that you do have um, kind of control over your business, to where when things go out of control, it's okay because you've got that flexibility and you've got that freedom to say, you know what, this is more important. I'm going to work on this today, and the business doesn't, it doesn't matter right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to
I mean,
address the issue that's right here.
yeah, I mean, for me, I let my clients. I mean, this is luckily it was at the end of I didn't have any more weddings,
Mm-hmm.
but I let my clients know for 2019. I said, hey, I'm going to be, AWOL for
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be I'm around, but I'm not going to be all there. So love you,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm gonna peace out for a while. And if something like that happens, that's what you do, is you just let your
Right.
clients know. You just don't shut down. I mean, you still have a business. My husband ran a business, so I had to call them and tell them he was a contractor, and tell them, and they were effed,
Mm-hmm.
because they had no backups to what he was doing, and he was the brains behind it. And I'm like, I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
gotta go. But so that's why, it all comes back to, you have a standard operating procedure. You're able to do that if you have a team and say, okay, this is what you do. Or if you don't have any brain power, you can look at that your standard operating procedure and go, okay, this is what I need to do today.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all I need to do today. And that's fine.
Mm. Yeah, thank you for sharing. I know that must have been really hard and continues to be hard on some days. So, this kind of leads us to another topic of self care. As a CEO, we can so often focus on the systems and the day to day and spinning the plates. So, what are some ways that we can practice self care to work, um, on personal development, to
Hmm.
take that time that we need for ourselves, but also maybe for business development? Because I believe that self
Yes.
care makes you better business owners. So what are some ways that you found that work for you?
Make them part of your, if it's a development personal, like, for me, it's, taking this YouTube class, it's doing a couple other things. Those are, reading a couple books, excuse me, listening to a podcast. I'm terrible at spending time listening to these, I love them, but I'm like, excuse me, I'm at my desk, and I'm like, I should be listening to something, but I'm trying to focus, so I
Hmm.
can't be listening, so I kind of don't have a time to listen to that. So I go for a walk I leave the house, I take a walk, I listen to the podcast I want to listen to, and I run them through that way. So that's a way to do in get out, do something, have the self-care. If you're taking a personal development class, have it part of your CEO day. Make it part of that. I'm like, I'm going to listen to this class for an hour or two or whatever you want to do. I'm just binging on a lot of things. So I take time and just binge, and then I implement. So again, it's going to be based on, I don't have kids. I don't have a spouse. I'm just hanging out at my house. It's lovely. For an introvert, this has been like the best freaking, 2 years of my life. I'm like, oh, good, I can hide in my house and I
Mm-hmm.
can do things. But you want to make it work for your schedule. So whether it's going for a walk, whether it's scheduling creativity time. I mean, photographers, take your camera out and just go. Florists, create something for yourself. Do the creativity stuff for you, not for somebody else, and schedule that time in, because that's where you have, the control and the flexibility, because you're creating and giving it to somebody, or
Mm-hmm.
you're like, or you're hearing, oh, I want this or I want that. No, take a day, create a, floral arrangement, say, I'm taking this home, or I'm going to put this on the mantle. Or photography, I'm going to go out and shoot. I mean, I'm trying to be a photographer. I love photography. I live in a great, beautiful space. And I'm like, and I haven't even taken the camera out once.
Mm-hmm.
I take the camera to Hawaii with me because I take more pictures there than I do at my own house. If you're a DJ, make a playlist. What are the things that you want to do to be creative within your business, or have a hobby that's outside of it? I used to have a ton of hobbies when I did not work for myself, but now you don't. So you just like, okay, how am I going to get this hobby back into my life?
That's so important. And it's funny that you mention you don't have any hobbies as much now that you're a business owner. I have a friend who's a photographer, and she jokes that her husband affectionately calls her business her jobby, because it's a job
Oh.
and a hobby. But it does kind of tend to work out that way. So my background is wedding photography. I did that for 10 years, and I'm slowly getting back into it again after some time away. And I look back at my, hard drives from 13 years ago, and there's so many artistic photos. I'm like, wow, I was good. But then once I started, you know, shooting weddings for other people, it's like that kind of stopped.
Mhm.
And there are no creative photos for myself anymore. But I really think it's so important to kind of tap into that creative side of yourself again. We are creative entrepreneurs, and when you are balancing so many things, 8 core areas of your
Yeah.
business, it can be very easy to forget about
Yeah.
the creative side and why you got into the business in the first
In the,
place.
that's right. That's right.
So I think it's important to schedule those days, say this is going to be, creative day where I go out and do something creative, and treat it as if, it's
It's a,
a meeting with a client.
yeah.
Like it's a
It's part of your
non-negotiable.
job. Yeah.
Yeah, because it really is. There's so many aspects of our personal life connected to our business as entrepreneurs. So it is important to to schedule those things.
Yeah.
So what are some ways that you would suggest maybe incorporating some work-life balance into your schedule? If you're constantly, it's so easy as a business owner to just constantly think about things and just be working all the time. Do you find yourself working all the time, or do you have systems in place that help you shut down and say, yeah, I'm not going to think about this right now?
And that's a fine line for me, babe.
Yeah.
Fine line. So in the past, I mean, I used to work. I would work all the time because my husband would work all the time. We would just we. I mean, I had an office. I'd go to the office, do my work, come back, and he'd be working. So I'd sit on the couch, work as well, or do whatever. And so it's an addiction. It's a habit, and my adrenal, like in 2018, my adrenal glands were, I mean, everything was shot because I was
Mm.
just constantly on, never took time to down. And so really look at your own um, body rhythms. Like for me, I know I do my best work from early in the morning. I mean, I used to work at 5 o'clock in the morning when I was in college and did call centers. So I do better in the morning, and then by 3 or 4 I'm like, peace out, my brain is done. So I've really come up with for me, I do morning until about 11, take 11 to 1 to take a walk, maybe work out, have lunch, kind of decompress, and then the next half of the day is more things that I don't need a lot of brain power for.
Mm.
So it's filing those emails, and that could be part of, you can say, maybe that downtime for your brain is more of the things that the administration part of your business, where it's like, I've got 5 million emails I need to file, whatever it is. And I'm just brainlessly doing these file, they've all been done, but okay, today's brainless filing day. And so that's kind of how I work my own business. But really think about your own body rhythms and when you work the best. If you're a night owl and you work best from noon to 9, go for it and make that work for you. And maybe that, 9 to noon is your administrative time, or your, getting back to emails. Don't, the clients always want more and more and more and faster, 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 faster. Put systems in place that they still feel like they're being heard,
Mm.
but you're also taking care of yourself.
That's so important. Even just having an automated email that's checking in with them. Or I was talking to a designer on the podcast, and he suggested just email your clients about a week through and say, hey, just wanted to let you know I'm working on this project and we're still on track to complete it, by this date. Because
Yeah.
they love that, but it's not, causing you can even automate that, like to go out a week after you start that workflow with your client in your CRM. So you
Yeah.
can have that time
Yeah.
to not worry about sending all those emails and and stressing yourself out.
Make the CRM, make your automations your friend. They're there for a reason. They're there to help.
Absolutely. So let's review the 8 areas of your business. Give them to me again.
Okay. You've got your financials. So that's your CFO, your marketing, your CMO, your operations, COO. I'm going to put these all in terms of chief operator or
Mhm.
chief people. Your client experience. So that's your CXO. So what's going
Mm.
on, onboarding, offboarding, the planning, the time from they hire you to you're done with your work. Your system, your IT. So that's a CIO. Your products and offerings. That's kind of under, all of it. Your team, your HR department, and then your personal. That's you. That's the CEO of your business. So all those people have a part of it in how you work.
Mm. So we might have some listeners out there and they're saying, Jen, this sounds great. Yeah, I really do want to put some CEO days and work on those 8 areas and kind of manage them, but I'm burnt out. I don't have time for that. I've got clients riding my tail. I have project due and project due, and we're just kind of in that phase of just management. Like I can't do this. What would you say to someone in that situation?
Take the time. You have to. Your body's gonna shut down, and it's there's a great line in Top Gun. Your body's gonna you're checking. You got your body checks or something that affected. Like your body is doing things that you can't do. You're
Mm.
gonna burn yourself out. That checks and balances within your body is going to screw you up, and you're gonna be laid out. So take the time, even if it's 15 minutes, micro steps. That's a goal. Micro goal of, I want to take a CEO day. Okay, great. Let's take a Friday. Maybe not a Friday. For wedding industry, Friday is a bad day. Maybe, because I know what days, I know what's going on. I mean, unless you're in Vegas, Hawaii, or, everybody's getting married during the week, you have 4 days there that you can do something. So maybe that Monday afternoon, maybe take Mondays off because you're like, I'm done. I've done the weddings all weekend. Monday, I've got to return things in the morning. Then you say, okay, Monday afternoon, I'm going to take 15 minutes out of that morning or afternoon, and I'm going to work on my business. And then the next week, you're saying, okay, I'm going to take 20 minutes. Then I'm going to take 25, and then I'm going to take 30. And you're just going to micro step your way into that CEO day.
Mm,
And then during in the winter, when weddings are slow, you have more time to be, okay, let's get these processes in place. Let's get where I can have more time, have more freedom, because that's the end of the day. You started your business to have more freedom in your life. And now the business is like, I'm going to clamp you down and you have no freedom. You are a slave to your business now.
mm,
Let's make that. Let's figure out how to break that and have more time for the freedom and the abundance of that. Because once you get that freedom, you're gonna have more abundance in time, in space. It's not just money, it's about everything else that comes with that.
mm.
So that's really what, so if you feel like I don't have time, you have to make it, because you'll always feel like you have no time.
Right.
So you take 15 minutes out of a day and say, this is my CEO time, and do it.
Yeah, micro step your way into the CEO day. I love that. One business coach that I used to follow named Chelsea Foster, she used to always say, um, you want to make sure that you have time to work on tasks that move your business forward.
Mm-hmm.
So we would have, work sessions, and we weren't allowed to work on client work during those work sessions. We had to work on CEO tasks. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe, take 15 minutes, like Jen said, and start with that, and then work your way up to, an hour a week. And then maybe it's 3 hours, a week. And then just
Mm-hmm.
kind of keep taking those baby steps, because it is so important to get that bird's eye view, that big picture vision, so that you're not just managing your clients and the work that you have coming in, but that you're actually feeling fulfilled, and that the work that you're doing is something that you love to do.
Yeah. The resentment factor is a pain. You don't
Mm,
want to resent what you're doing, because this is what you love. I mean, you don't want to walk away from a job that you love because you resent it.
mm,
And that's exactly what um, people are doing, because they've worked themselves into a spot where they can't get themselves out of. And it's, I feel like it's part of my job as especially in the wedding industry. We're so much people pleasers, and we're so much into that caretakers, caregivers, that we don't take time for ourselves and or our business. And so then we resent the whole thing and we walk away. And, I have lots of friends that were awesome at their business, and they've just walked away to go do something else.
mm.
And it's heartbreaking. So, because they don't have they don't have the support, or they don't have the tools to make it for themselves.
Yeah, don't let that happen. So you're saying it is possible to get out
It
of
is.
that pit of the monster of your business and to instead have freedom?
Yes. Yes. I've done it. I've done it. I've done it. I've done it. It took a life-changing experience to do it. And a pandemic and
Yeah.
all that stuff, but it is definitely something to do and can be done. So,
Yeah.
um,
So
I will help.
yes, so how can people find you and get in touch with you and get that help? that they need.
Yes. So everything is Jen Taylor Consulting. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. My email is Jen at Jen Taylor Consulting, website Jen Taylor Consulting. And you're going to have a link to the Facebook group. Please join me. I will tell you, I'm in there, but I'm not. It's one of those things where I'm learning I'm actually learning my human design right now, and so that's been really interesting. And so I need the downtime, and that's why I've had so many issues with my own self, like personal self, that I don't give myself my own downtime.
Mm.
So come join me there. We're going to have lots of fun. We're going to go through, you're going to get some free stuff. You're going to get some, great juicy information. I'm trying to get it all. That's part of my CEO, is get this content ready for you guys. So you guys can all join and have fun. And if you want to drink wine, we will probably drink wine on Wednesdays
Sounds awesome.
and all that fun stuff. So
Yeah. So
that's where you can find me.
Yeah, so the Facebook group is Design Your Business with Jen Taylor. Be sure you join. Jen,
Yeah.
it has been such a pleasure talking with you. Thank you so much for being
Well,
on the
thank
show.
you. I loved it.